Today I'm going to be showing you how to create this effect in TouchDesigner. As you can see, it's an audio-reactive effect. So let's get started. Let's start by blocking out all that we'll need. We'll need a constant, into a ramp, into a math, into a function, into a reorder, into a null, and into a out, because we're going to put this in a component. Circle, we're going to use sine and cos, because as you can see, if we use sine of 0 and cosine of 0, it's 0 and 1. But if you go around, you see that it makes a perfect circle of radius 1. Now create our circle. First of all, let's set up a constant where we're going to have resolution x and resolution y. Set it to 1 and 1280, because I have the free version, I can't go higher. And going to set resolution x and y, and very important, change to 32-bit floats RGBA, otherwise you won't be able to get the result needed. So in the ramp, change to horizontal to vertical. If you have a look, view as points, you can see we have a function from 0 to 1, 1, 1 for x, y, and z. Then in our math, we're going to multiply this by 2 times math.pi, and then in our function, set r to cosine and g to sine. If you right click and have a look, it's wrong. Why? Because we are in degrees, and set this to radians. And now if we have a look, it looks like a bit like nothing, but if we go and up and look in front, we get our circle. So to flatten this circle, I'm going to the reorder and put input 1 red, do blue. We don't want the blue, because the blue is a Z, a Z. So this to 0. We don't have any blue left, so what will this do? It will compress our right back to a nice circle. Okay, now take this, right click, and put collapse selected, circle. Let's put this into a null to have a look. We have our circle. We can connect this to a noise and change it by translate the Z by ADS times seconds to have a animated noise. We can see it's very aggressive, so turn all of this to 0. Exponent 1.6, find requel, amplitude 0.05. And we can see it's offset to the side, so we put offset to 0. No need for monochrome. Now we have our circle that moves slightly. Our second component, we're going to need a ramp, the same ramp as last time. We set x, y, change it to vertical. Then let's put this into a null. Select this, right click on the side, collapse selected. This is going to be called life component random speed. This is going to allow us to have the moving squares from a feedback loop. So let's go inside a noise, a limit, going into the GLSL shader, into an add this in, go into a constant, into a noise, then our feedback is going to be here, into a threshold, a mate. The three parameters are going to be the constant, the feedback, and the threshold. This goes into the add, and this is when it's going to go out. This add to the feedback. Before putting everything, we're going to need a few constants. Two parameters, rate and life. Life is going to be the speed. Rate is going to come from me.rate. Should be 60 if you set it to 60 FPS down here. Then this is going to go into MF. For the life, I'm going to set it 0.5. You will be able to change this on the component. Then another constant that is going to just be set to 1. Going to MF, where we're going to combine shop by divide. MF, going to want to multiply them. So we'll have life multiplied by the rate, and this 1 divided by 30. Get this, and then into a no. Let's set everything up. And the noise, I'm going to change output to only output to noise. Now our limit, we're going to change this to a clamp and put the minimum value to 0.01, so you won't get the zeros. Now in the GLSL, we're going to have to add, we're going to use this parameter, and this is going to come from this, so we can reference it, call it max. Activate it, and if you zoom in, you'll be able to edit it. So what you're going to need, as you can see, if we uncomment the first line, we get the color. So texture, then STD, TouchDesigner, 2D inputs, 0. So this is this one, the 0. And we can also use the uniform float max. This is the value that's here. So we're going to get the color here. This is the input color that comes from the first input of the GLSL shader. Remove this. I have a float, red, the ABS, the absolute value. Okay, to max, so this value, times the color that we just got from the input, times a dot, sorry, the red. So we're only going to keep the red value and multiply it by this rate that we got. And then we're going to output a vector 4, call it output color. It's going to be equal to a vector 4, obviously. And so it takes 4 values. We're going to put red, 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 and for the alpha 1. And we are going to output this output color, obviously. So we can have a look. Okay, look up, it's vector 2, vector 4. Compiler success. Now, this constant, we're going to change it to 0, 0, 0, so black. and output the resolution only, because we just want to keep this resolution. Then in this noise, change it to random. Threshold, let's change this to 1. And in our add, we don't need to change anything, but if we first points, so if you have a look at the points, you can see that it's moving like we want it to be moving. So we can now go out of this component, and if you put a node just to have a look, you can see we have this moving from 0, 0, 0 to 1, 1, 1. Right click here, customize component. Then you go back in here, click life, the float, you can add the parameter. Then now here, instead of having 0.5, we're going to type parent, so it's going to go up a level, this parent obviously, dot parameter dot life, I think I called it, I called it life like this. If you go up, pressing U, if you're asking if I is in, U is up, then let's put this to 0.5 here, and change it with a slider, and you can see if you go back inside, pressing I, this changes. You can see the speed, if you go high, it slows up and goes faster. So 0.5, multiply them together. If you have a look at the output of this, you can see it goes from 0, 0, and it goes out, but it goes out to every single point of this circle. So if I insert a point transform, so we're going to move the circle and translate it Z by 16.5. We now get the tube that we wanted. And we can also change the size of this. And this is going to be audio-reactive part. Let's put a second point transform. And this one we're going to rotate the Z by ABS time dot seconds time 10, or you can also make this audio-reactive. It gives it a nice look. And then connect this to a null. If you the keybind to put to a null is pressing Alt and N, you get a null. Rename this instances. Okay, we need a second thing for our instances. We are going to use a noise. Again, we're going to use the X and Y size. If they are not the same, you'll get an issue when trying to use your rendering. We're going to use this as a UV map, because the problem with using a noise is we always get the same sort of rainbow colors that are not the best. So let's use 32-bit float, red and green. Then let's have a movie file in. Here I have one with an image. And use a remap. Remap takes input 1 UV image, input 1 0 source image, so source UV. At the moment it looks like nothing, because we need to change the extend to mirror. There'll be some the command output resolution to custom resolution, and put it to the same as up here. And then output aspect as the resolution we just gave it. So we can see we get a noise the same color as our image. So if you put a different image, you'll get different colors and it will be at random which color it is. But if you want to use the random, the rainbow colors of the noise, you can. Alt N for the remap to get a null. You can call this colors. And we are done with the first. So we can add an annotation, call it instances. Let's put it in pink. And here we go. This is first step done. Step 2, let's tackle the rendering. So this is going to be a lot quicker. We're going to use a rectangle. You could use a different shape if you wanted to. We're going to put into a transform, change its size to 0.005, very tiny rectangle. Tab, geometry, boom. Turn on instancing, this is going to be, and we're going to use everything we just made. So for the translation, the instances one, we could call it position instead of instances, it would be better. And then in the second page, there's one for the color, RGNB. So if you have a look, it's a bit hard to see, but it's right there. So let's add a camera. We're going to add a constant material, bring out a render, and put this into a null. You're going to want to move where the camera is to somewhere like this. It's a bit hard to see. Let's add a second Joe2, and instead of a constant this time, let's add a line material. So like this, we can get the contours of the squares. Going to the material, you can pull this, put it into this as a reference, so they both get the same value. Going to put the size to 0.7, and I'm going to change inline. Both colors, set them to white. As you can see, there's still colors. Why is this? Because we need to go into the geo and remove this. Okay, then let's begin the second render. The first render we're going to put to geo 1, the second to geo 2. Put this into null. And then let's use a composite to bring both of them together. And let's set it to over. You can see it's starting to get together. The camera is not very well placed. Okay, so this is the rendering done. We can add another annotation. Correct rendering. Okay, now let's start the post rendering effect. Bring this into a null. Going to create a feedback loop. So we're going to need a feedback, a level, and over. Connect this into this, the over into the feedback. You can see if I put this into an out, you can see it's going crazy. And if we add a transform, set this to 1, comp over background color, boom, it's black. Feedback, if you pulse, you can see it's staying there. Why? Because when you change in the level, the post, put the opacity down to something 0.78. Could bring it lower, higher, depending how much you want it to fade out, how long you want the trails to be. Once you have this, bring it into a blur. We're going to add a second version, a bit bigger and blurred. So let's just change the filter size to something bigger, like 20, and transform it by changing the scale by something small, like 0.14. Let's bring this into a composite, put them together, change this to over, so it gives us a quite a cool look. You can, if you don't want it, you can remove it, obviously. Then we are going to use the usual ones. So if you press either up here, or if you press Command or Control and B, it opens up the palette. Then if you go into Image Filters, first we're going to use the bloom, up. We're going to set the threshold to 0, the intensity, bring it down to 0.44. The glow level, we are going to change it with the music. You can change the glow color, I like it red or white. Let's put it red for now, you can choose the one you want. Then we're going to add again a filter, RGBA delay. This gives a delay for each color. You can see for the moment the red is the one that's the most far behind. Why is that? Because it's minus 15. So let's just tone it down a bit by putting it to -1, -2, and -3. Like that. There's still a trail where you can see it's blue, green, red, but it's way more subtle. So this is good for the post-processing. Let's turn this back on. So we can add an annotation again. Let's make it red. If you want the same, I'll move the camera around. If you want the same as me, I have this. Okay, now for the best part, the audio-reactive part. So we are going to use, we'll sort of block it out again like last time. Audio file into palette, tools, audio analysis. Plug this in. We're going to use kick, snare, and low. And depending on the song you have, you might want to boost the gain or the add, but we're going to use the smooth a bit to make it smoother, obviously. Then let's first use the low. So select low, put this into a lag to make it even more smoother, even though we already add the smooth. Then we're going to put this into a math. This math we are going to use multiply by 2 and add 2 afterwards. It's going to be 2 plus this multiplied by 2. Put this into a null. We're going to use this to change the size of our circle. So in the point transform, we can see the scale is 3.2. So we're going to put this into here. Boom. Well, why did we add the +2? It's so that when there's no music, it will be of size 2, and we multiplied it by 2. Use the kick and snare. Let's connect this to a select. Let's only keep kick and snare. We'll want to combine these two, so the easiest way I found is to use a logic. And we're going to want this to be 1. Combine channels when it's all. So when either of them is 1, it'll be 1. Then we're going to put this into a trigger. If we have a look at what this looks like, if you put it into a trail, you can see we go up and down. It goes back to 0, but the music is a bit aggressive right now. So we've put this into a math because we want it to have a initial value and we want it to be a bit lower because we're going to be adding this to the bloom level. So I found a good range is 0 to 0.6, so it's a bit lower, but we are going to add 0.2. Then we can put this into a null. Now a bloom, we are going to use this that we just made for the glow level, and I changed the bloom level down compared to the last time I recorded. I find it looks sharper, it's a bit nicer. So this is the audio reactive part. We can add an annotation, call it audio green. You could easily add way more audio reactive parts. This is an example. You could change the noise, there's loads of options. Okay, so for this last part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can add controls to modify this visual on the fly. So we're going to use a constant. So what we're going to modify is the size of our squares. So we can call this constant size and set it to 0.005, which is the size right now in this transform, 0.005. So let's put this into a null, and we are going to put this null into a math, and this is going to be our second size. So let's, for example, add 0.1, so it's going to be 0.105. Then if you put this into a switch, what does a switch do? So if 1, 0 is going to be the one on top, and if 1, 1 is going to be the one on the bottom, so it will switch between these two. And to switch from 0 to 1, we can just use a keyboard in, because we're going to press the key 1. It's going to go from 0 to 1, so let's connect this for the index. So when it's 0, it's going to be, nothing is being pressed, it's the normal size. When I press 1, it's going to increase the size. So we can easily connect this to a null, connect this null as the size, and if we look, when I press 1, it becomes huge. Okay, different effect. If you want it this time to become bigger, into math, I'm going to do minus 0.005, so it's 0. Use a second switch, connect these two in, keyboard in, and this time let's use the key 2. If I press the key 2, it will change. I press the key 2, it becomes super small. I just noticed a little mistake in the composite here. You need to change the order, because right now the outline is underneath the shape, so it doesn't look very good. So if you put it back on top, we get the intended result. So this is done. We can add our final annotation, call it controls, for example, and we now have our completed effect. Pressing 1 gives us the nice shapes, pressing 2 gives us the tiny ones, and we get the normal one. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and see you next time.